Hello everyone, you're watching Bits No HYD, episode 1, Getting Real with CRC. For real.
For real. Well, Bits No HYD is here to make you aware of this beautiful place that you're living in. Its functioning, its system, its history, of all the important and relevant stuff. So welcome.
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 So Pratyush, I would like you to formally introduce you to the audience here.
Right. So I'm Pratyush and I'm a member of the Corroboration and Review Committee, one of the few nominated office bearers working in their third year to help make the campus a better place. We are the chief financial custodians of student finances here. What we do is make sure that the money is going in the right places, they're being used efficiently, and a non-constitutional role will be to also be financial executives. So we make sure all the vendor payments happen on time, they happen in the right way, and every student body is facilitated in the best way possible.
Okay, so CRC, Corroboration and Review Committee.
Right.
You keep the accounts in check, but who keeps you in check? Like, you have the accounts in your hand. So.
Well, to be honest, we don't really have accounts in our hand. It's always a virtual dashboard which we keep looking at and make our analysis from the same. But on fest ops, we receive a lot of cash. We make sure to move it forward to the administration, which is for us the student welfare division.
Okay.
So we make sure that our associate dean, Mr. Kannan Ramaswamy, makes sure that we are in right checks. Moreover, we have a lot of buffer places where we have to make sure the funds go at the right time and are move forward at the right time. For that, we have the election commission, which audit us once every year to make sure that we are not doing silly things.
So what is actually BITS 336?
Right. In an easier way to look at this, BITS 336 is like a mother account. So BITS is a huge institute. There are multiple transactions happening on a daily basis, primarily operated by the accounts division. Now what happens is, whenever you receive a sponsorship, it goes into the BITS account. So a primary checks and balances system, which is virtual, is established within the BITS 336 account. It's the account where your money goes, where all your expenditures are made. To make sure everything is in the right place, there are multiple employees in each and every institute of BITS Pilani to run these things smoothly. Now the thing is, because SUF is one, there are multiple other ledgers fulfilling multiple roles. You have an IIC ledger to make sure that the technovation on campus is in the right place. You have multiple ledgers for your mess and every other important aspect of the institute. So just boiling it down to one sentence, it is the campus ka family account jahan se each and every transaction happens and each and every credit comes in.
So any transaction where BITS Hyderabad is involved,
Correct.
is through this BITS 336 account.
Correct.
And what were you mentioning about the ledgers actually?
Right. So, like I said before, we work on virtual dashboards, right? A ledger is an imaginary account. Now, let's just say that I am a father and I have 2 children. Both of them have multiple expenses. Now, in order to make them challenge themselves, what I tell them is that I am giving you a monthly pocket money of 5,000 rupees, expenses from which you can ask me whenever you want, and I can give it to you. But what I'll do is, I'll make sure if you give me any money back, I'll count it as a credit, and if you take any money from me, I'll count it as a debit.
Okay.
Now, this imaginary account is called a ledger. Now, if this kid of mine, which ends up making a loss, leads the balance into a negative, it does not mean I'll sue him. So a ledger is basically an imaginary account. It's not a bank account, because you know for a fact that you don't need a bank account because it's not as corporate. A student union funds ledger is exactly the same. So you can make losses because that is the luxury that the institute has provided to you, because you are learning and you are students at the end of the day. But that does not mean that you got to go around and be as careless as possible. Hence a virtual imagination of an account called a ledger.
Okay, so Tech Senate also got its new ledger?
Correct. So in order to move forward in a direction of making the technical senate autonomous, the technical senate ledger was created. So every year, if there's a director's fund that comes in, it goes into the technical senate ledger, and there are multiple projects that are asking for funds from the technical senate ledger, depending upon the technical senate's discretion, of course. Moreover, if there are any events that generate profit from the technical senate, that fund also goes into the technical senate ledger. Or in an easier way to understand, the SUF ledger was in major losses. So what basically happened is there was a sense of resistance in promoting projects from the technical senate, and because we're an educational institute, there was an imminent understanding of things where a project was extremely important for the technical growth. इसलिए the technical senate ledger was created, because a technical senate ledger is basically loads and loads of funds going in with no major expenses, which helps the projects move forward as fast as possible.
Okay, so this ledger that was newly formed for the technical senate, it goes through administration by CRC and EC. Right?
Correct.
Okay, and then it is just made as a virtual dashboard again.
Correct, because look, at the end of the day, every payment that happens, it happens from the BITS 336 account only. It's just that there's a dashboard that says कि at this point in time technical senate के पास इतना पैसा है, so they can spend. Now it does not mean if there's an imminent need they will not be able to spend if the amount isn't negative, but it is a check installed so that the students are always on their feet, making sure that everything is in the right place and every expense that is made is precise and well thought.
Yeah, coming to profits, you just mentioned profit. Recently you revealed that Atmos was profitable.
Correct.
So my question is, where does this profit go? Also, while every new SU takes its charge, we're always told that SU fund was in negative, we are starting with losses. So like, why does this happen, and how are we able to spend money or organize fest even though we are starting with a negative balance? And why do we need to have those fest even though we have negative? As you mentioned, it's to keep the ledgers are to keep us in check.
Right.
So shouldn't we scale it down or something like that?
Of course. So let me explain it to you in multiple branches, because this is a big question. Now, like you asked, Atmos was in profits.
Yeah.
For the first time in a long time, Fest was in profits, and we are very happy about it. The scale is also pretty sizable.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that, let's just say you're my child, right? And you are currently in a loss of 200 rupees.
Yeah.
Now you open up a lemonade stand and you end up making 20 rupees. You come to me and you tell me we've made 20 rupees, right? And I'm happy about it. I take the money from you and now I tell you that your losses are 180 rupees, correct? But that does not mean that you cannot open another lemonade stand.
True.
Correct? So let's just say you are in debt, but you've just done something which is profitable. More often than not, it generates hope that you can do this again and again and again and move forward in ways that are profitable, finally coming to a zero. Correct? Coming to the scaling down of the fest, when you look at it this way, right? We are an educational institute, but we are also a premier institute. During my time in Department of Professional Events, what we understood is every college has a tier, depending upon the scale of their fest and how much footfall they bring in. We are currently in the tier E of institutes, which is IIT Bombay, IIT Delhi, Triple IT Delhi, the big ones. Right? Now, what happens is, as soon as you scale down one fest, you know your footfall is going down, so your spawns are hurt. Your spawns are hurt, your experience is hurt. Let's just leave the experience aside. The finances of the fest are so terribly hurt, your fest is not going in profits, for sure. Of course, in fests where you know that what you're bringing in cannot perform up to its potential, it makes sense that you cut it down. But our three major fests, you have Atmos, you have Arena, and you have Pearl. A bigger fest always means that you're trying to retain a status that you had for the last 10 years or 12 years for that matter. Correct?
Yeah.
And I think the last fest was a testament to a bigger fest being the best way out at generating profits. Because none of us are economists, we understand basic things and we understand human intent. So a bigger fest means a bigger pro show. A bigger pro show means better marketing. Better marketing means more sponsors, and it also means more audience, which also brings in better money.
Yeah. So keeping our conversation in fest only.
Correct.
Why can't we use UPI to make transactions?
Right. You see, there's a rule that no student can take any amount that is owed to the institute into their own.
Yeah.
Right. And the institute, as of now, does not have any UPI-enabled account to actually take in any credits. So every transaction that happens on campus, which is related to the student finances, is through two. One is the BITS 336, right? NEFT is enabled, but it is such a huge account. Your 300 rupees ka credit, which was for 2 subs during a fest, can never be tallied, right?
Yeah.
And the other way around is the student's union account. But then The Students Union account is a precedence buffer account. So what happens is, in order to make sure everything is in the right place, the only way a president can extract funds is through checks, which is from us, and he is the signatory.
Yeah.
So it creates a balance of power, but then it also prevents a UPI transaction from happening.
Okay, understood. Also tell me, how does coupons work? So what happens, mate? Like I have attended some 5-6 fests already.
Right.
What we see generally is, on day one of the fest,
Correct.
we don't get as many coupons as we need. We
Right.
have to stand in queues which are longer than compared to on day 2 or day 3.
Correct.
So why does this happen? Like, do you see the demand, then go for printing, or is it printed and like there's some lag in, like there's a friction between the departments, or what is the problem?
I don't really have the right answer to it, but I can explain coupons to you, right? So we have two major sources of revenue from the general body when there's a fest. One is through cash,
Okay.
right? And the other is other advance deductions, or fake money as most people call it. So every semester you have extra credit, a credit card of yours that you can use on Smart Campus or multiple other places in the form of deductions to actually enjoy your time here. Now this is probably more than 5 to 6 times how much you would actually make from cash, considering there's no UPI enabled, and you want to tap on it. The only way you can tap on it is to bring in something tangible but also temporary to make sure your customer has, you know, a way of keeping a count on who's spending what, and for us to keep a record of how much you're spending. So let's just say Khedi comes in to me during Atmos. So let's just say you come to me on Fest and ask me for 300k coupons for you and your girlfriend's burgers, right? Imaginary example
Imaginary
here.
examples,
Right.
yes,
So what you do is you take the QR ka scan and it says that you've bought 300 ka coupons. Now what happens is, in an Excel sheet somewhere, your name goes in with your ID number and the amount you spent. That Excel sheet eventually comes to me and I give it to accounts division so it can deduct the same amount from yourself.
Okay.
And in exchange for that, you get 300 ka coupons, which you can go on and give to the vendor. At the end of the fest, you go to the vendor, you ask him how much he's made, and then he's paid that amount that was due.
So coming to deductions,
Right.
we can go to the budget ratification and stuff later on.
Yeah.
But when we receive a budget, as a normal GB member or even as a normal human being, my thought goes to why and where I am spending this money. Okay.
Right.
Don't you think it's better to like announce the artists who are coming or whatever the pro shows are happening
Right.
before announcing the budget? So I, as a member, or many people in general, will get an idea. Okay, if I'm spending this amount, I'll get this person, this amount, this person, this. This gives a sense of like, okay, is it worth it or not? And we can make a more informed decision in a way.
Right. So let me come at this from the perspective of an ex-dope member here.
Okay.
Now, I'm sorry. The thing is that GBMs are supposed to happen 1 month before the fest.
Yeah.
Correct? And this is very variable. You cannot say that your artist is here until your payment is made, your press kit has been received. I mean, it has been a confidential thing which is from the agency's end as well. Until you make the payment, after you sign the MOU, they are not going to give you the right to actually go about publicizing what artists you're going to bring in. Moreover, you can only be sure of the scale of the fest because for all it is worth, 20 days before the fest, your artist can cancel and he can leave. And that can only bring a sense of defamation to the SU's abilities.
True.
Could be a safety move here, but then I think that is the only way to go about it. Moreover, when you're going for a big fest, your pro show artist का जो fees होता है ना, that is also tagged along with quite a few sponsors, so that you either get a discount or you bring in publicity for the institute. उसके लिए you want to maintain a sense of confidential sense का होना ज़रूरी है.
Maybe like a surprise. Okay.
Not really a surprise, but then you got to make sure that an artist is not told until he's confirmed. Because there are a few artists in the industry जिनके कुछ spawns locked होते हैं. So if you reveal the artist, you are revealing the sponsor.
Yeah.
Correct? And if you're not sure of the artist you're going to bring in, there can be a competition in who's pitching for what. Dawson can end up cross-pitching the same category and it can ruin both your lineup and the sponsorship pitching that was going great to fetch in a good amount of money. It's exactly why. So for all it is worth, this is a security concern, revealing the exact lineup in the GBM. But you know, if it is actually sealed irrespective of which budget is being provided, you can very much go ahead and tell on as to who you're bringing in.
So the way to deal with it is be completely certain about who's coming.
Not only be completely certain, you got to be legally binded.
Like, what if you all do stuff very early? I mean, it's quite impossible
Right, so-
considering the time.
Let me give you an example.
Yeah.
Pearl is thoda sa off. Matlab it's decently far off as of now.
Yeah.
But there's huge amount of research going in each and every department. Dawsum is on full pump and Dope is on full pump right now. They're coming up with multiple lineups every day to make sure what would bring the best amount of publicity, what would bring in the most footfall, what will entertain the GB the most, right? Now, even by the GBM, if you are sure of what you're bringing, you cannot tell them because things can get cancelled last minute.
But that will be defamation on the artist that he cancelled, right? So on your part, you're doing it right, and
Correct.
getting it cancelled is like one of the possibilities that can happen anytime, and we have seen that happen. So we cannot keep that as a variable and try postponing the announcements if
So,
you are done with actually dealing with.
If that is the case, you can always ask in the GBM as to what kind of artist you're inviting.
Yeah.
And the president will give you an array of names, and I think you can be assured that one of the artists would be the one that's coming at the end of the day. So
You get to see a spectrum of artists out of which
correct.
someone will
A spectrum
come,
of artists
rather
in
than
the kind of price range they've provided in their budget, they've allocated in their budget, and then that is what would effectively happen unless the students union grabs something which is massive.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense to show us the spectrum because at a point, if we are losing the artist, if he
Correct.
cancels, and if there is a deal with the agency, then the agency might be able to get an artist from the same spectrum, which
Correct.
would still satisfy the GB.
Yes, so every spectrum that is provided on Fest is very well researched. So, even right now, there might be a list of 10 or 12 artists which are right in the mix, and that is where your lineup will come from. So, there's no lack of planning anywhere from what I have seen as a Dope member and as CRC now. It's just that there's a sense of confidentiality that has to be maintained to protect your image in ways where people would blame you for anything and everything.
That makes sense. And coming to the part where GBMs happen, yeah. So what happens before a GBM is budget ratification.
Correct.
And me being a part of few senates, not directly, but we see ki there are a few things that are going to happen, and the figures probably.
Right?
But after the budget ratification, a lot of things change.
Right.
What actually happens in the budget ratification, and why do you do it? Because there are sports secretaries or cultural secretaries or technical secretary who is making the budget, and then it comes to you, I guess.
Correct.
Okay, could you explain that?
Let me just show it to you in a perspective which will be easy to understand.
Yeah.
So the Students' Union Council is more often than not an extremely optimistic body.
Okay.
And that does not mean that they can be blamed, because it's their job to make sure the general body gets the best experience and they move forward with it.
Yeah.
Right? So if it's your technical secretary or your president or a cultural secretary or a sports secretary for that matter coming with a budget, it is designed to be optimistic so that they can do what they want to do and the general body gets the best experience possible in the least amount of money. Right? What we often go and see is sometimes things can be overquoted or underquoted for that matter, so that we bring them down. You understand that we are a neutral body.
Yeah.
Our direct job is not to go and serve the GB's satisfaction or their happiness or how they enjoy their last year or their first year in the institute. Our job is to make sure that the budget is as close to the final spreadsheet as possible, because that is our final goal at the end of the day.
Okay.
As a nominated office bearer, it is your job to audit. Being audited means you got to check कि कितना propose किया था, कितना है. If they are matching, great. If they are not matching, there's an issue. To prevent the not matching part of things, we basically meet each and every PUR that has asked for a certain amount of money. Right. We also try and call the vendors up to see how much they are asking for what scale and for what inventory. We make sure it is the right number and we either cut it down or bring it up. Right. And sometimes what happens is you can end up spending a major amount of money in something that might not be able to bring in as much money as you would expect. But then it would give the GB loads of satisfaction because it would have been a great experience. Our job here is to play party spoilers and go about cutting it down so that things are in their right place.
Okay.
Even if the satisfaction of the general body is at risk here, we want to make sure that the fundamental budget that has been provided to us, we stay true to its stencil, and we come up with a spreadsheet which is as close to the final one as possible. Which is why things get cut down or go up, and the dynamics of the whole budget can also change often.
Yeah.
Hasn't happened this year, but
Yeah, well, it's a
eventually.
possibility.
You never know.
Yeah, so you said ki, to prevent, to keep the sustainability at
Correct.
you ratify the budget.
Correct.
Now, after the fest,
Right.
post-fest, then there are losses.
Right.
Who takes it up on their head? The SUC or the CRC, or you all blame yourself? How does it happen?
Look, the thing is that we are not a legally binded body. We are not a corporate. So there's no one that has to go around actually taking the blame for something that has been unfortunate or unexpected. End of the day, all of us are students. So my overview or my ability to look at things is limited, and the SU's ability to look at things is also limited. We are run by experience.
Yes.
If things go south, yes, they might go south and things might go wrong, and we'll tell the GP about it. But it's not about taking the blame for something and going about in a walk of shame, because the kind of work we have to do is everything is guesstimation.
Okay.
Right? And that is why there's no particular SUC that is to be blamed saying inka itna loss ho gaya. It's just that the Students' Union Fund is now in losses of this much amount in hope of recovering it later.
Okay, it's because it's a common emotion telling कि यार हमारा पैसा लेके लॉस करा दिया. It's a common emotion for the people who are saying कि इनका ऐसा था. So it's quite important to clear that out कि you're not here to make money or make profits. You're here for the experience, and few set of people they worked hard to provide you that. And you gotta respect that.
I mean, yes, I think that is an important aspect of looking at things. Moreover, just think about it. If there's a president that has made a huge amount of profit, and then he goes about telling people that I have made this much profit and the last SU made double that loss, I think it would be very condescending to everybody. It's a narrative at play which shouldn't be paid much heed to. More often than not, someone that has figured out making profit once ends up making profit again and again, because it's a trick that you got to unlock, or it's loads of things that add up together to make the perfect recipe. So if a president has made a profit, you can put your faith in him, but if he hasn't, it does not mean that you just ghettoize him or give him a walk of shame, or I mean not the president but the whole SU, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that is a way of looking at things. Moreover, sometimes what happens is a budget goes ratified and then a budget gets passed. Now you know that the budget is not going to work out because it's not sustainable. Sometimes some budgets are just not sustainable because of their scale. What happens is your Students' Union, what it does is it goes about fighting, trying to give your general body the best experience possible, even if overshoots are at play. So under such circumstances, our job is to go around opposing it or letting the neutral body know, and then it's the neutral body's job to actually approve the overshoot or not. So yes, sometimes fests can be loss making and they can be deliberate, but for reasons I would expect to be favoring the GP.
Okay, enough of serious money talks.
Right.
What is the process of selecting a CRC member? Let me complete. In the constitution, it's written you need to have 6 members, but since last couple of years, we are having 3 in in a year span.
Right.
Also,
Right.
what are the perks of being a CRC member?
Okay.
No line.
Right. So, getting into CRC, because you're a nominated office bearer, and because there's so much of work to learn to actually fit in this job comfortably, the administration has left it to the current office bearers to choose their successors, and this is less of a political afterthought and more of an executive ability, right? And there is a decent sense of need for honesty being involved here, because this is a position where you can go about just playing with a lot of things, right? And shouldn't be counted as a perk, because you go about doing something like that and you'll definitely get caught by somebody and things are not going to end well for you.
You've seen
for
that
sure.
happening. You've seen that
I
happening.
mean,
But for sure, like there might be some perks that you enjoy as a CRC
yeah,
member.
something that you exercise.
Something above a GB member can experience, maybe.
of course, there's a, if being known is in question, yes, we get known, but there's a lot of work at play,
Yeah, obviously.
right? And Fest May, you get a lot of, a sense of respect from each and every junior or even the other PORs, because they know that these are the people that are making sure everything is in the right place, and you want to be nice to them. So if it's a dope PR or a dosh PR or a dawesome PR, we are well connected with most of them because our functions are well related with most of them. So if they have the ability to help someone get a better experience of the fest, they help us out, and I think that is what you'd call a perk at the end of the day. If you get a good row at a comedy night, or if you get an FOB pass to go into the pits, these are the perks that are involved. But they are more often than not because of the decent relations you make, because of the kind of work you do and how good you are at it in syncing things out.
So again, the question: why 3 members only? Why not 6? Like,
Why can't
what has
6
happened?
people function together? That way you'll actually learn at least. Like you're working under those 3 people,
Right.
and you get an experience being a junior.
Right.
And then next, when you take up the office, then I think you'd be able to perform a little more better.
You see, this has always been the case, but CRC is a place where you got to know the person very closely to actually take them in later. There's a lot of trust at play. There's a lot of question of abilities at play which you cannot figure out in 3 months or 4 months or even 5 months for that matter. So what happens is, even if there are children that I know will eventually make CRC later, I of course would groom them to the best of my abilities within the bounds of a CRC member, but I know that these are the people going in, or these are the people that might have a good shot at things. It's just that because this position is so serious, you cannot bet your what do you call it, poker mein kya hote hain? You cannot bet your chips on any number here, right? And it is a 6-membered committee, correct, but from what I have observed, even with the 3-member committee, things can be a little difficult. I mean, we had to work, me and my colleagues had to work for months to be establishing a strong communicative network with each other, where we have to go about telling each and every information that we gained over the day, because if there are multiple departments contacting you, and if there's one awesome guy coming to you to tell you about a sponsorship which has to be told to the dope guy, and there's someone else talking to the dope guy, there's a communication gap and things can get ruined. So it is difficult to establish a decent network with 3 people. With 6 people it becomes much more difficult. This is exactly why this place is not a department. That's why it's a committee.
Yeah.
A lot of it is executive based. You'll never see a club or a department with multiple executives,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of communication gap that gets developed and things can become difficult to just operate within the committee, leave alone its inter-body transactions.
It was great having you.
Right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm glad that CRC wanted to convey to the public through Law Society a lot of things, and I got insights into the system, the finances. Honestly, this is the most productive day of my semester. I'm happy about it.
Eventually, should not be.
Yeah, eventually it shouldn't be.
Right.
But yeah, thank you for tuning into Bits No HYD, episode 1, getting real with CRC. For real.
Make sure you ratify it by me later on.
Okay, video ratification for sure.
Right. Thank you guys. Thank you for having me. Bye bye. Chalo.
Wait. I am Aditya.
I'm Khedi.
I am
CRC.
CRC.
Bye bye, guys.